Oh, I was about to record fucking nothing, dude. I almost forgot to turn this on. Hey, hi, how are you all doing? I hope that you're doing well. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. I made a tier list about all the games that I've played in October, all the horror games, but it took so long. Like at the 10th game, it took around half an hour. I still had like 60 more games to go through because I also counted the indie games. So I remade the entire thing, except it isn't only horror games, it's all the games that I've played this year on the channel. Here are the horror games of October, my initial tier list of it, and here are the indie games. And yeah, let's get into the new tier list. It's gonna be a quick one, because I know that people don't really have a lot of time to watch long videos these days. So yeah, this is the previous tier list, and these are the indie games that I played. Just before we start, I'd like to say something important. My tiers start with A. That means that when you see a game in C, it's the third tier. It's basically like the B in other tier lists. I just never really understood why people always put the S tier in the tier lists. I think it's like a Japanese thing. I don't know why people are obsessed with everything Japanese and everything Japan. I never really liked that. So my tier list starts with the A. Got it? Cool. So anyways, let's start with the games that I played in October. First off, we've got Hachishaku or whatever its name is. This game was kind of fine. Like, it's like every other horror game that is on the market, but it has a very big lady that's like funny and stuff, haha. You basically go around and collect stuff. She follows you around, but this lady is just there for eye candy. You can even find grenades that stun her and make her even curvier. I'd say that this game is funny, and it on being funny alone, I'd put it in B tier. After that, I got the Backrooms Game. It's a glorified walking sim. You walk around, you see shadows, and then you fall through the floor. You try to survive for the longest time ever, but there's nothing to do except walking. So, boring as shit, we're gonna put it in D tier. Next up, we got Nightmare of Decay. This one actually surprised me, because this was one of the few horror games that I played that actually had good gameplay, dude. It is filled with references, which is something that I fucking hate so much, but I think that the whole game is a reference, like an amalgamation and a mishmash of different old horror games. I'm not a very big fan of horror games. Back in the day, it was because I was easily scared. Nowadays, it's because most of them are shit. But anyways, this game was definitely one of the best I played in October, so this one easily goes in A tier. After that, we got World of Horror. Very fucking disappointing game. I originally got it without even looking at the pictures, because when it released back on X, or Twitter as it was called back then, everybody was praising it like it's the best game ever. I think it's because the character designer or something is from like a big Japanese company or something, but everybody was praising it like crazy, so I thought if I ever got into horror games, this will be the one. And unfortunately, it's very, very disappointing. The combat system is very boring. It has like different cases and like 1,000 different endings, but the gameplay itself is very basic and boring and annoying. You keep repeating the same things. It's basically like an old point-and-click game, but combat system like ever, dude. You basically put the actions that you want in a queue, and depending on the dice roll, it lands or not. It's like every turn-based combat game, and I fucking hate turn-based games so much, but somehow less fun and less intriguing, less interesting. I don't know how to explain it, but I personally didn't really like this one. And the character designs weren't even that mind-blowing. They were basically like the most basic, generic Japanese horror game characters that you can ever think of. Disappointed in this game. I'm gonna put it in C. I know that it's not the game's fault, but I just went in expecting a lot out of this game. So next up, we got Bendy and the Ink Machine. This game was fine. It wasn't like, wow, it's gonna blow my mind with how good it is, but it wasn't like, oh wow, so bad that I fucking hate it. It's just fine. Like, I don't know what to say about it. It's an FPS horror game. You've probably played these before. I think a highlight of this game is definitely like the lore and the art style. It has a unique art style. You've probably played games like this before. It's an FPS game where you walk around, monsters follow you, if they catch you, you're dead. Sometimes you fight, sometimes it's an insta-death. It's fine. They try to not make it a walking sim. They didn't really succeed in that, because the combat system's so bare bones, but you can definitely feel like a lot of effort and soul was put into this game. It's fine. It's just a fine game. So I'm gonna put it in like I don't know, I'm thinking about low B to high C. I'm gonna put it in B. Bendy and the Lone Wolf. This game was an accident in October. It got recommended to me that I play it. I thought that it was gonna be a horror game, mainly because it had like psychological horror or something in its Steam tags. And it also had a hack and slash, so I thought, hey, a horror game and a hack and slash. I love hack and slash games. This is gonna be awesome. But no, it's just like a top-down beat-em-up game with the most simplistic combat in existence, which is very, very bad and awful and annoying. It's not very well balanced. It's not very well designed. It's basically a scavenger hunt over and over and over and over again. And you start off in a level and you have to see the same like environment and props and all of that for a long time before moving on to the next area and having to do that all over again. So you collect some items and then do something, but I got bored of the game, so yeah, this game is very disappointing. I'm gonna put it in D. And now you see me, I kept speaking about this game for like 20 minutes, but to keep it short, the game has a cool art style. The voice acting hurts the game. Games like this require very good voice acting. The voice acting here was only okay. It kinda hurts the game. That ends up feeling like a parody due to the voice acting. It's a point and click, very basic really. It just had some moon logic a lot of times, especially in the second half, and the ending was very, very disappointing. And I also hate horror games that kinda only depend on violence and gore. That's not really horror to me. That's just awful, disgusting violence and gore. It's not scary, it's just disgusting. So that's also negative to me. Art style was definitely a highlight for this game. I think it was made by like one guy or something, so the game is fine. If you like this style of game, you definitely like it, so I'm gonna give it a C. Next up, DreadOut. This game was S, mainly because like it didn't give you about any sense of direction or where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. The intro is quite weak. It's like it tried its best to make you scared, but the awful animations, the environments, everything like that just felt very weak. The game did have a lot of cool concepts, like that big creature you go to at the beginning of the game, and the limbo and all of that, but once you start playing the actual game, this is the biggest, or one of the biggest, where the fuck should I go type of game. So I was just lost. I saw a few monsters, they had lots of interesting designs, but unfortunately I just didn't know what to do. So that just ruined the whole gameplay session that I dedicated to this game, and I didn't really enjoy my time with it. But I just couldn't figure out where to go, dude. Which is such a shame, because this game looked rather interesting, but oh well, what are you gonna do about it? E tier. Then after that I took a break from the shitty horror games, because as you can see, everything like was all over the place. So I went with TF2. TF2 needs no introductions. The best class-based shooter out there. Not even a competition. And it's still very, very well designed and amazing. Very fun. Easy A tier. This is the Ancient Labyrinth. I kept talking about this game for way too long, like for another 10 minutes. But to keep it short, I really like the theme and the environment that the game is in. And it reminds me of simpler times for indie games, not when indie games are made like by 20 people and had like a budget of $1 million or whatever. This is made in a simpler time, and I really like the mechanics that were there. It's not just a simple chase. You have to take care of the lights and the sounds. It also had a lot of interesting mystery to it. There were screaming souls, blood paths, lots of very, very interesting things. I really, really like this game's simplicity and the soul and heart that you can feel in this game. I know that I say this a lot, but I feel like soul plays a very, very big importance in games to me. This one is one of the better walking sims I've played, so I'm gonna put this in like low B. Next up, Sweet 776. Oh god, don't tell me that I'm gonna be re-recording everything. This one I also talked about it for like 7 minutes. Sweet 776, walking sim. I hate walking sims. They try to make it a little interesting by having you interact with some puzzles. I'm saying this word very loosely because these aren't really puzzles. They would just either like put something somewhere or collect something or any of that. But it's a very simple game. I read or heard that it's inspired by PT. If you like that game, you'd like this sort of thing. Repeating the same area a couple of times. Very subtle things change till you get a jump scare or something. I wasn't a big fan of that game. I'd say that it's way better than say like the Backrooms game. At least they did try to make it cool and interesting with a little twist that they do at the end of the story. Not gonna spoil it in case you play this game. I thought that the twist was neat. I'd give it a C. It's not as bad as the Backrooms game, but it's still a walking sim at the end of the day. Anyway, Anyways, Bendy and the Dark Revival. I'm just not gonna announce if they are re-recordings or not. To keep it simple, this game was basically like, what if we took the gameplay of the first game and improved it, took a lot of the tedious elements out of it, and added a couple of mechanics on it. It basically treats the first game like a prototype and improves on it and adds lots of mechanics, which, in my opinion, makes this kinda like the perfect sequel. It takes the first game, builds on what worked, removes what didn't work, and generally tries to improve on a lot of aspects. But at the end of the day, it's basically another Bendy game. If you didn't like the first one, you'll not be very impressed by this one. I thought that the first one was okay, not the best. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't enjoy my time with it. I liked this one more. I hated it slightly less. So yeah, I'm just gonna put it into mid B. Anyways, after that we got Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. This game is pretty much everything I hate in a horror game. Jump scares, references out the ass, a walking sim with nothing to do but get an axe at like the very end of the game. But they somehow do it in such a way that I don't exactly hate this game with everything I got. This game has a certain charm to it. It's the YouTuber game, and I don't think that I'll ever think that, wow, I'm really itching to play some Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion HD Renovation right now. But for what it's worth, it's fine. Basically walk around, you enter rooms, sometimes you see some monsters and stuff. I will say that the monsters here are designed in a very nice way that you don't exactly get that they are references at first. I haven't played many horror games, so maybe I wouldn't really get the references right away, but they had their own creative twist on it. So that's a positive for the game in my eyes. And the rooms sometimes try to pull out like something interesting or something exciting in your way. Like instead of walking in a hallway or an L shape or a U shape or whatever, sometimes you go into a mansion, sometimes you go into a restaurant. So, like I said, this game has a certain charm to it, and the character designs and all of that stuff is a very, very big positive. So, on principle, that this is basically just a walking sim. I should put it in like D or E, but I'll put it in C for now. But as a game, no, I don't like it as a game, to be honest. So I'm gonna put it next to Sweet 776. It has cool ideas, but at the end of the day, I don't like it. And then after that we got Cry of Fear. The backtracking ruined this game for me. When I was streaming Sweet 776, I was very, very tired of walking sims. So, a viewer at the time, Flapjacks, said, hey, if you're tired of this, and you want to play an actual horror game with gameplay, you might want to give Cry of Fear a try. And I did. The game is very disappointing in a lot of aspects. It still relies on jump scares. The backtracking is insane. Fucking hated the backtracking so much that I never ever want to play this game again because of it. And the gameplay that was there got very repetitive at times. Like, you get a feeling and a sense that these monsters are just bullet sponges a lot of times, dude. Keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. And the reveal of the monsters, the game expects you to be like screaming and jump scared and ooh, ah. But once the monster is revealed, it's like the game has played all its tricks, dude. There is nothing new. Every monster is practically the same, very little differences here and there, but I don't know, the gameplay that was there wasn't exactly impressive, and with the backtracking, I think that it hurt the game. The story is pretty nice, and the twist at the end was pretty nice, but the game got so bad with the backtracking, so yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna put Cry of Fear in low C to high D. Yeah, that's how much I didn't like it, dude. I'm gonna put it even below Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, because at least compared to Cry of Fear, Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion HD Renovation didn't feel like a chore. And then after that I got the DreadOut collection. This was a massive fucking disappointment, dude. It was modern day shovelware, basically. If you don't know what shovelware is, it's basically like games back in the day that came bundled with your like CD or with another game or something like that. Small games that basically weren't anything on their own, so they had to be bundled to have any sort of value. The 10 games that were here, I don't think that I found a single moment of enjoyment out of any of them. Most of them are pure walking sims. I think 7 of them are just pure walking sims. The only game that I remember having gameplay that's kinda passable is Pony Factory. It's a walking sim with a very, very basic FPS component to it, but again, I didn't really enjoy it, and it wasn't that well balanced. I was disappointed by this collection. In the end, it was just walking sims. So this game absolutely goes into fucking E tier, dude. God damn. And then finally, we move on to FNaF Security Breach. Hold on 1 second. Yep, I'm just gonna... Yep, 20 minutes. I spent 20 minutes talking about this game and the lore and FNaF as a whole. I know that I said I won't mention it again, but screw it, dude. To make it as short as I can, besides the very obvious complaint about the game being a buggy mess, ruining the FNaF lore and all of that stuff, the game is boring. The game is a mess when it comes to game design. It felt more as an art project. I said this time and time again on stream. It felt more like an art project as opposed to an actual game. Every single mission design was go to this place and check this out, go to this place, press this button, go to this place and collect this. I don't know how they would have made it better. I'm not a game designer, but the game is so boring. They spent all this time making it as big as possible, but didn't really care about the polish or how it feels to actually play this game. This is another one of those where the fuck should I go type of games. It's a walking sim. You do get a shitty camera and a shitty pistol to stun the enemies every now and then. It's a walking sim. This was supposed to be FNAF's like big break into 3D. I know Help Wanted exists, but it's a remake of all the previous games. Well, most of the previous games. But this is very disappointing. There are many FNAF fan games that pull this off way better. And even then, this isn't really the FNAF that I fell in love with. FNAF was one of the few franchises that wasn't monsters following you around. This one was exactly that. Monsters follow you around. And the shit game design, like you'd be on the other side of the map, no animatronic in sight. Then one of the buggy, messy, awful staff bots that run at 2 FPS catch you, screams in your face, and then, oh, there's an animatronic that teleported behind you. Who the fuck thought that this would be a good idea? I feel like this game would have benefited quite a lot from being a linear experience as opposed to open world, because I feel like Steelwood just simply didn't have an idea how to design a good game. They only thought about making it big and making it pretty and making it wow as big as we could. Not fun to play in. That wasn't their primary goal. I also didn't care about the characters. Like I said, the story ruined the lore for FNAF for me, even more than Sister Location and everything after it. And I didn't really care about the characters. You'll find me on the streams like saying, oh, Roxy's good, oh, Chica's bad. I'm simply like a crowd pleaser most of the time. There was a viewer that was very passionate about like Roxy and stuff, dark elf female, so I simply just went with the flow. And because people nowadays get way too attached to their favorite product and to the stuff that they consume, I just didn't want to be harsh on their faces. Because if you say anything harsh about the stuff that people like nowadays, a lot of people nowadays, not everybody, but a big portion nowadays, act like you said something harsh about them or their families or their loved ones, so they get irrationally angry, and I just kinda wanted to dodge that for the time. But they no longer watch that channel, so I can just be as real as I want, and this is just me being honest. But I personally don't really care about her, or Freddy, or Chica, or Monty. I didn't care about them, and even if I wanted to care, I couldn't with the messy story and the awful gameplay. And another thing is that they kinda forgot that this is supposed to be a horror game. The jump scares are there just for the game to have like a game over state, an end state for you to go back and restart. Oh, speaking about going back and restart, can we talk about how shit the save system is? Anyways, the game isn't scary. I know, every game on this list simply wasn't scary for me. But this one especially felt like they weren't trying, really. There was nothing about it that was scary. The atmosphere was shit. I guess the Megaplex looks kinda nice. Kinda, if we're being generous, but this is one of the worst games I've ever played. I'm not even being hyperbolic here, dude. This is generally one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And without the mods, the map mods and the camera mods and all of that shit, this game would have been unbeatable. I actually was gonna drop it after the second stream, but it brought in a lot of viewers and a lot of chatters and stuff that I just kept going, which is something that will never happen again if I'm hating the game this much. So, this game is the biggest one in my opinion that deserves a shit colored F tier. But after that we go into Ruin. Okay, I'm gonna make this quick because Security Breach took way too long. Ruin improves on a lot of aspects of Security Breach, but the foundation itself is still shit. I'm gonna use the terminology that a lot of people use online. Food. You can only do so so much to decorate a shit cake at the end of the day. No matter how many candy and all of that shit you put on the cake, it's still a shit cake. That's the feeling that I got with Ruin. It got a lot of improvements, like it's now a linear game, not an open world. Great. It has checkpoints instead of shitty save systems. Great. They did focus on, instead of making it huge and taking 10 times more than it's worth, they focused on making more set pieces than Security Breach, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still a walking sim. Maybe I'm wrong about calling these games walking sims. Maybe it's just because I don't play many horror games, but that's the feeling that I got. You walk around, sometimes something chases you, sometimes you have to stop and do a simple puzzle, like connect the dots or rotate the thingy until the fluid reaches the light or stuff like that. Like I said, it improves on a lot, but to make another comparison, imagine instead of being in debt for $1 million, now you're in debt for about $800,000. I mean, yeah, it's better, but it's still extremely shit. This is the exact same thing. So as a recap, it improves on a lot compared to Security Breach, but at the end of the day, it's still a walking sim. Oh, and I don't really want to get into lore all that much because FNaF is dead to me because of Sister Location, and then I got buried fucking 20 feet under because of Security Breach, but they added like the biggest retcon tool in this game. Like, oh, who is that? It isn't actually the character, it's the mimic. Oh, who is this? No, that character wasn't there at that time. It was the mimic. I don't know, at this point I feel like Scott just makes shit to keep people chasing theories and making theories like, oh, I'm gonna solve FNaF, guys, I'm gonna solve FNaF, and then Scott releases another thing and more mystery is added, and it kinda gets to a point where it's annoying. But like I said, FNaF, I don't really care about it all that much nowadays. Maybe the current community loves this, maybe it hates it, I don't know, I'm just sharing my opinion. And I'm just giving out an opinion. At the end of the day, tier lists are opinions, but this is my opinion. Ruin is shit, but not as shit as Security Breach. So I'm not sure if I'd put it in high F or low E, but I'm thinking about low E for now. I might drop it to F later on. And then after that, to torture myself even more, I went straight ahead into the fucking mimic, dude. Okay, a quick tangent, but before I streamed this game at the end of Ruin, Digital Dog was like, hey, can I make a request? He was like, can you play this song? I think its name was like Jackie in the Box or Jack in the Box or something like that. And that song alone made me feel way more positive emotions. Hell, way more emotions than The Secret of the Mimic as a whole, dude. That song was weird. It was funny, but it kinda got me excited to see like what this game is about. Why would they go for like an old DA game style, but kinda shit? Is this game like similar to FNaF 3 in theme or story or atmosphere? That's my favorite on these aspects, so hell yeah, let's go and check it out. I don't know if it's because I played Security Breach, then Ruin, then Secret of the Mimic, or if the game is mediocre, but I kinda was numb throughout the whole stream. This game didn't make me feel disdain or like I'm torturing myself by playing it like Security Breach, and it has a lot of stronger points than Ruin, that it went from shit to just mediocre. Like I said, they did try to improve a lot in this game. I don't know if jump scares just don't work in FPS like horror games or what, but the jump scares here were better animated, just not scary. They tried to make the atmosphere better by the mimic AI and how it moves and all of that stuff. Instead of going around pressing buttons, you now go around and press buttons and unlock different stuff later on. They did add the worst puzzle section in existence with like the Doom 3 like thingy where you move the hand, move the parts around, but here it was agony, dude. It was awful. I hated it so much. That alone drops the game to like F tier. If I was just gonna focus on this part, this game deserves F tier for that section alone. But yeah, like I said, they try to improve a lot. This game is very, very heavily inspired by Poppy Playtime and every other modern mascot horror kids horror game. FNaF fans, it's okay to say that something is inspired. Nothing is 100% original. Hell, FNaF itself is inspired by people saying that Scott's modeling is ass in the Chip game and one of his games, Sit and Survive. It's okay to be inspired. Nothing is 100% original. So this game felt heavily inspired by these new horror games. They kinda wanted a piece of the pie, especially since last time when they tried something quote-unquote original original. They ended up making the most generic FPS horror game, but worse with the fucking security breach. I feel like the inspiration works very well in this game's favor, that it ends up being a lot less tedious, a lot less shit. And that going back and forth and like unlocking new stuff to unlock new areas, I thought that it was a nice twist in a horror game, and it even has like a mini game inside the game, which I thought was pretty cool. So this game improves a lot, adds more tedious puzzles, and yeah, I don't know what to say about this game. I didn't feel extreme disdain and general dislike like I did with Security Breach, so that's a big improvement, I suppose. And I thought that it was mediocre, not bad like Security Breach Ruin, and not awful like Security Breach. So this is gonna go into high E to low D for now. Then I just said, fuck it, dude. Let's play the actual FNaF games. The games that made me fall in love with FNaF. FNaF 1, 2, 3, and 4. Anyways, I played FNaF. I was very, very surprised by FNaF 1 because it was awesome, dude. Like, jeez Louise. The atmosphere, the sound design, the general art and feel of the game, and I'm surprised by Scott Cawthon making his first horror game, it being as well designed as this one was. The resource management is so well balanced that almost every time you lose, you feel like it's your fault, not the game's. So I'm gonna put FNaF 1 in S. FNaF 2. I don't remember FNaF 2 being this chaotic. That's one word to describe FNaF 2. I didn't hate it from the chaos. The chaos was just a bit too over the top a lot of the time. I think that this problem gets very, very serious and very tedious. In later nights, Scott kinda screwed up the camera system. Now you only have to keep track of one camera for the music box. The music box gets also a bit boring at times. It's to balance the game out, but I also think it's a bit much. And yeah, I feel like FNaF 1 had a special feel to it, had a special kinda tense feel to it. This game leans more on the action chaos, in my opinion. And I feel like it also shows this game is a lot brighter, the atmosphere is a lot weaker. Like, instead of it being subtle, now every time an animatronic is in your office or close to you, this ambience keeps repeating over and over again. I think it became like a meme or something in recent years. So some of the things that made the first game great kinda took a massive hit in this game. FNaF 4 and 2. So FNaF 2, put it into A tier, but it's gonna be at the bottom of A tier. FNaF 3, fucking fantastic, dude. What the hell happened here? Scott really came in and made one of the best horror character designs in existence, dude. God damn. Springtrap is like the perfect design for a horror antagonist, in my opinion. He's so cool and so well designed. I love it, dude. Anyways, the gameplay is very, very good. It's like 1v1, right? He sends out his minions, from time to time with the phantoms and shit, and you get jump scares, and then something bad happens to your system, so you reboot. But he is the real danger. He is the one that you have to keep your eye on. It's very cool. Like, I love the gameplay loop. I thought that FNaF 3 was a good stopping point for the franchise, and it really was gonna be the end, except that people hated the jump scares. I personally thought that the jump scares were fine. I never really played FNaF for the jump scares. Back in the day, I didn't play it because of the jump scares, because I was scared. Nowadays, I just think that jump scares are extremely boring. It's just the game over state, right? Like, it's the same to me if the game just said, game over, you failed to close the door, and now Freddy is in, or whatever. I don't really feel scared by jump scares. But other aspects kinda recovered from FNaF 2, like the atmosphere, improved a little bit from FNaF 2. FNaF didn't end with FNaF 3, and now I wish it did. But anyways, FNaF 3, cool gameplay, cool story, cool characters, everything's cool, another easy A tier. FNaF 4. Dude, how did I find the time or the energy or even the stuff to talk about to talk for 28 minutes about FNaF 4 and FNaF and lore and the end of FNaF for so long? Just to keep it simple, Scott really said, you don't think that FNaF 3 is scary? I'm gonna show you scary. Took away most of your vision, now you rely mostly on sounds. If you screw up, the first thing you see is a big monster jumping at you, loud sound playing instead of breathing, and just a big ass jump scare. I think that Scott here prioritized 100% trying to be as scary as possible. Didn't think about the game being well designed or fun to play or whatever. He went all in on the scare factor. I think that if you like horror games, this is probably gonna be the horror game, because the way the game is designed, it's literally designed to just be as loud and as in your face and as scary as possible. I try to overplay my jump scares on stream because people say that this is the scariest FNAF game. That was so fucking boring with my actions to jump scares, but it didn't feel authentic and it felt fucking awful. If you want to see that, check out the last two FNAF 4 shorts. Anyways, the gameplay here is, I won't say well designed or fun to play. It just has one thing that it wants to achieve, and I think it achieves it well, making you constantly in stress and anxiety. And if you fail, you just get the biggest, loudest sound screaming in your ears and the biggest monster just jump scaring you. I know that people say that the nightmare animatronics are overly designed or weird or trying too hard. I still fucking hate trying too hard. What the fuck do you mean? Of course everything is gonna try as hard as it can to achieve what it wants to be, but I think that they look cool. And Scott, again, took like the criticism from FNAF 3 not being scary with the jump scares. He just pumped it up to like 100, dude. So yeah, I think that the atmosphere here is kinda average. I feel like it's better in some aspects, it's also worse in some aspects. Like, I like how dark everything is, but the gameplay loop doesn't really give you time to take everything in. Always moving and constantly going here and there and trying to find like where the animatronics are and listening and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna touch up on this for like a very, very short amount of time, but to me, FNAF ended with FNAF 4. Dream Theory is real. This is like one of the few FNAF games that just shoves the story in your face. There are no secret mini-games, there are no like hidden stuff. No, after each level you just get a cutscene, a playable cutscene, and that's about it. And the teasers that Scott made in like the GT live stream and all of that stuff, something like what's hidden in the shadows is misunderstood in the mind of a child or something like that. Like, Dream Theory was 100% real at one point in time, in my opinion. And people lost their fucking minds. If you go to a fan website called like FNAF Lore or something, and this is supposed to be like non-bias, giving you all the detail that you want about FNAF and its lore, and if you want to get into it and all the theories and all of that stuff, of course people would start fucking racing now. And even gives you like a general idea about the most popular theories and the timeline and all of that stuff. But if you go to the Dream Theory section, they're just like, nope, that never happened, nope, that never was real. Like, did people really fucking hate Dream Theory all that much? Oh, well, I do remember like the fucking fallout of Dream Theory being even a possibility. Made everybody go insane. I personally was like, great, I enjoyed FNAF, this is the end. I don't really hate Dream Theory, it's all fiction in the end. And I enjoyed my time with FNAF. But no, everybody went insane, everybody hated Dream Theory so much that ended up with us going from kind of like a grounded, supernatural horror franchise to sci-fi to whatever the fuck is happening now. Anyways, I think that the game is fine. It has two goals in mind, and in my opinion it achieves those goals. One goal is being as scary as possible, and the gameplay and how it's designed and the animatronic designs, all of that achieves that very well. And another goal is clearing up the lore and making everything as clear as possible. I think that was also achieved at one point in time, but later on retconned with the dumbest things possible, like fucking audio discs or fucking illusion discs or whatever, dude. Anyways, I think that FNAF to me ended with 4. I think that this game was great. FNAF 4, another easy A tier. And that was the end of FNAF. And I really wish it were the end. And then we got Sister Location. This is gonna be quick because I'm not gonna touch up on lore again, because I lost all interest in FNAF because of this game and the books. But this game took the franchise in a whole new direction. It added voice acting, it added the first actual cutscenes instead of just mini-games. And Scott really wanted this to be a cinematic experience, and this is where the problem comes. This game doesn't really have gameplay, like a big gameplay, as much as it has many smaller mini-games that are connected just to loosely resemble a big game. basically think dumb ways to die, but after dying, instead of showing you a cutscene about what to do and how to be safe in a cartoonish way, you get a jump scare and the game has a story. And I'm fine with these types of games a lot of the time, but two problems. The first is, why would you do that? Couldn't you tell a story with the style of the previous FNAF games, or did he think that people were just bored of FNAF? Or at least that style of FNAF, like these sit and survive games. And the second is, the mini games are kinda boring. A lot of the times it's just crawl here or walk here, try to move here or try to move here. It gets so fucking boring and tedious. Like, oh, listen to Ballora's fucking song and then stop. Or, oh, don't crawl for too long. Or Funtime Foxy will get you. Like, why? I think that there are some fine mini games in here, like the Funtime Freddy one. Okay, no, not some. This is like the only one that I liked. I think the rest are Simon Says, press this button on Baby, or press this button on Funtime Freddy. The gameplay is ass, and yeah, this game ruined a beloved franchise for me, and on top of that, it's not fun to play for me, so it easily deserves an E tier. And finally you have Pizzeria Simulator. I'd say that this is one of the better FNAF games I've played. I wish that the simulator aspect of it was developed a bit more. As it is right now, it's basically just buy stuff and then play some. I do wish that there were more stuff that you can do in the simulator side of the game, but this is one of the better games. Scott tries to end FNAF again. We all know how that went. Tries to end FNAF again, so he kinda wants to tie up the story, end it in a very, 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 like, obvious way. No more theories, no more vague mysteries, nothing. But then he ends up adding shit like the Midnight Driver, which, like, what? Juniors and, oh, you don't have to beat his ass again, he's just a kid, or whatever he says in that minigame. Like, I don't understand. He kinda tries to clear things up, but also ends up adding a lot to the mystery. I think he tried to appeal to a lot of people, like the theorists, and the people that just wanted FNAF to end, and the old school FNAF fans, and the new school FNAF fans, mainly because the sci-fi elements are toned down a bit. I think that the atmosphere here is great. I think that the sound design is wonderful. I think where the game really fails is the jump scares, dude. I don't know if people complained about the jump scares here, mainly because, like I said, I just wasn't a fan at the time. The jump scares here are very, very badly animated. It feels like when you have a 3D model, if you worked with like SFM or Blender or any 3D software, when you have an IK rig and then you pull the character from its neck, it starts moving from its neck, and then the arms slowly fold and move, and then the legs slowly fall on the rest of the body. It's like moving a snake of sorts. That's the feeling that I get with the jump scares of the animatronics here. And they just have like a little arm movement or mouth/face movement. I know that FNAF never had the most impressive animations or jump scares, but here I feel like the jump scares are so ass that it hurts the gameplay. Like I said, I don't really care about the jump scares because they aren't scary, but when the jump scares are so bad that they actively hurt the gameplay, I feel like I kinda have to point it out. I wouldn't really put it high up with the rest of FNAF 1 through 4. I wouldn't really put it down like Sister Location or Mimic or even Security Breach. I'm thinking high C or low B, but I'm gonna put it in low B. I think that this game has more positives than negatives. And then after that, I stopped with the horror games, so I returned to playing actual good fun games. Starting with Undertale. I'm surprised by how much I actually enjoyed it, mainly because I never really was a fan of like these turn-based battle games, and having it be pixel art on top of that, that was almost like a recipe in everything I hate in indie games. Only references were missing, and then that would have been like the exact same thing I hate in indie games. But I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed this game. The music was great. I was very, very surprised by how influential this game is. Lots of the music that you hear everywhere is from this game. The style of writing that's in practically every indie game of this style must have been inspired by this game, or what inspired this game, and this game brought more attention to it. And yeah, the game is surprisingly deep in the cultural zeitgeist and how influential it is to practically every form of media related to video games. But one problem that comes with this is the game's humor is kind of a mixed bag. It reminds me of Portal 2, where it feels like kinda early Reddit humor. And that's a problem due to how influential this game is. It kinda shaped the humor of the mainstream internet, and that's unfortunate. If you like this style of humor, it's fine. I personally didn't really like it a lot of the times, but here it's not like later Reddit humor that really gets on your nerves if you hate it. It was just there. So maybe we shouldn't call it Reddit humor, and maybe call it Undertale and Portal 2 humor. Like I said, the actual writing and the story and the characters is great. I like the whole be determined thing and the twists in the end. I'm trying to be as vague as possible in case you want to play this game like I did. It seems like it has a big dedicated community, which is something that I love. The combat system, I usually hate these style of games like this turn-based battle system game, mainly because you choose an attack and then the attack happens depending on a dice roll if it lands or not, and then the opponent does an attack, dice roll, all of that shit. Here you do an attack, it depends on your timing, and then you have to dodge the attacks. This little twist on the game, I don't know if it originated in this game or if this game refined it, but I really love it. It's like actually playing a game and not a spreadsheet. And yeah, you can definitely feel the heart and soul in this game, which is a very strong point for me. Like I said many times, heart and soul matter a lot for me in games. You can definitely feel this game oozing with it. The only negative I saw in this game was the performance. I know that it's a 2D pixel art game, but it was stuttering, it was dropping frames like crazy and all of that. But I think it was made by like one developer with the help of many others, so maybe programming wasn't a strong suit, maybe it was the music or the art or the writing. So it isn't really a problem in 2D games of this style, but I just wanted to point it out. The music copywriting in this game is very aggressive. One stream got like 8 claims, another got 6. I think the first one where I played this game between FNaF games for like 20 minutes, I got like 2 claims. It's just weird at how much this game's music is used everywhere. I get it, he made the music, it's definitely his right to copyright claim and all of that stuff. It's just unusual for an indie game. So yeah, Undertale, a very pleasant surprise. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Alright, I'm gonna try to keep everything from now on like quick fire, right? Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, one of the most influential games of all time, yet is never mentioned because people look to its grandchild Assassin's Creed as the main influencer, even though this game pretty much pioneered a lot of the stuff that's here. The parkour, the combat system, how the game is planned out, how the story is integrated into the game. This style of third-person action games that kinda dominated the market for the PS3/360 era. This game pioneered all of that stuff. As for the game itself, I really like the dagger mechanic, really like rewinding time and how it was designed. Doesn't really feel like a crutch most of the time, just feels like a very well designed game mechanic, and I don't know how they pulled it off with the PS2, dude. The story is very well made. I really like the theme and the Middle Eastern aesthetic. Not a lot of games take place in the Middle East, and if they do, it's almost always war, or that it's a war-torn place. This game does it in a more mystical, fantastical way, which is something that I really like and gives this game a lot of uniqueness that you don't see in practically any other game, even its own sequels. The story also fits that. It fits the Middle Eastern aesthetic very well. The characters are well written. The narration from the prince makes it feel like he's reading a book or a story for you. I'm not gonna get into spoilers, I'm trying to make it as vague as possible, but I did have a big problem with the game is the combat. It's mainly one button that you spam and holding down right click at times, and also the countering. Instead of pressing left click as soon as you block an attack, you press left click right before an attack lands. And speaking of animations, the animations in this game were mind-blowing, dude. They were so good, even better than this game's sequels again. It's like they put a lot of care into having everything seem fluid and human, and especially the prince, having him be as nimble and as athletic as possible. I love it, dude. I don't think that I dislike a lot about this game besides the combat system, but at points it makes the game very tedious, especially with them stun locking you on the ground, and the library section soured the whole game for me. So for that alone, I'd put the game down from A to high B. Prince of Persia: The Warrior Within. Last game's weak point was this game's strongest point. Combat system got an overhaul. They made an entirely new combat system where you can either have one weapon in hand or 2 weapons in hand. Every weapon does different amounts of damage, breaks differently, and you can do tons of combos with each weapon, which is fucking awesome. They even fixed the shitty counter. Now it works like every other counter, which is pretty cool. but other aspects of the game did take a hit. First off, the game completely ditches the Middle Eastern aesthetic for a Gothic aesthetic, more of a European aesthetic, which is fine. I do like this Gothic aesthetic a lot, but it does make the game lose a lot of its charm and uniqueness. It goes for the music as well. I love guitar and I love a lot of subgenres of metal. I think that a lot of the tracks here are sick, but again, it loses a lot of the charm and uniqueness that made the first game feel like one of a kind. This game also goes for a more serious aesthetic, a more cool aesthetic, and that is something that I love so much, dude. I love it. Love how serious everything is and how cool everything is. I think people on the internet call it edgy. I love how edgy this game is. I love everything about this aspect of the game. But a big problem, and this kinda relates to the environments being changed and being more generic, is the progression of the game. The previous game was completely linear, right? You go from one place to the next and that's it. This one goes for kind of an open world, kinda not style. Problem is the amount of backtracking you have to do is insane, dude. It can get boring for some people, and it is very, very, very confusing. This is another one of these games. I think a big part of it, at least, is where the fuck should I go? Which was a problem. Another thing that I have to point out is I feel like this game is very, very buggy. I don't know if it's just me or if these are common bugs, but the beginning of the game was completely buggy. I couldn't get past the tutorial area for a very long time. But again, it could just be me. So overall, I think that this is easily the best game that I've played this year on this channel. It has its issues, and it has quite a bit of issues. But overall, I think that this experience was almost perfect for me. So I'd give this game easily an A. Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. This should have easily been a great game. It tries to mix the previous two games. It tries to take the story and the fantastical, mythological aspect of the first game, tries to mix it with the new combat of the second game and the improvements that the second game made in various different aspects. But this game kinda fumbles everything in my eyes, especially compared to Warrior Within. This game kinda feels like they were burnt out of Prince of Persia for a while. The combat is a downgrade, now your moves are very, very limited and the animations are worse, and instead of having like 7 enemies fighting you at a time, which might sound like a lot, but Warrior Within makes it work, you now have like 3 max, 3 enemies fighting you at a time. Each one is like a bullet sponge. You keep fighting and hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting, but no, they just feel awful to fight. And when you're near their portals, once you kill one of the 3, another one spawns in. I don't know if it's a new limitation or they kinda ruined something in the optimization compared to the previous games, but the game felt very limited in the amount of enemies it was able to display at a time. They try to focus more on the parkour, they try to focus more on the puzzle like the first game, but it has no charm, it has no soul like the first game. The first game, everything was so new and yet so confident. This game, I feel like they kinda lost that confidence. They were basically trying to make Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time again. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time 2. They also tried to shove in like the previous characters that just disappeared after the first game. They were teased, at least one of them was teased at the end of Warrior Within. Not gonna spoil, I'm trying to be vague, but it took a completely different approach from what you'd expect. Not in a good way. Besides that, the story itself, it kinda tries to retread the same thing that the Sands of Time already did. A big part of the first game's story is the prince is a bad person and he tries to learn to be a better person, and this game tries to do the exact same thing in almost the exact same way. And the big new addition of the game, the thing that was in every advertisement and in every poster and every piece of art, the Dark Prince, was very awful, and my god, that ending, dude. This is easily my least favorite of the 3 in terms of the story. They did try to shove in a stealth system, which is awful. Instead of pressing a button and then watching a mini cutscene, now I press a button, watch a mini cutscene, and do QTEs. And the problem is, they tried to push the stealth system so hard that I think a part of what made the combat bad is them trying to kinda punish you if you fail the stealth The new chariot stuff was kind of a neat idea. The puzzles were tedious. I think that the music is a big downgrade from the first one. They did try to go back to the Middle Eastern style, but something about the fade in and fade out of every music track and the general style and composition of each track feel not as good as the Sands of Time. Let's keep it at that. I wouldn't say bad, just not as good. If I had to give this game some positives, it's them going back to the Middle Eastern aesthetic and all of that stuff, and this game being the grandfather of Assassin's Creed. And another kind of positive is the addition of Dark Prince. I feel like he is more similar to Warrior Within than the normal Prince in this game, which is a great thing, but you only see him like a couple of times, and he's so comedically overpowered, but I enjoyed my time playing as him. This game was a very, very big disappointment. I didn't really enjoy my time with it. You can even see like the last stream title is "Please God let this end" or something like that. So I'm gonna put it at C. Emily is away. More like Emily is a bitch. A lot of people apparently cried playing this game, but I found it extremely funny. It's about a girl that no matter what choices you make in the game, no matter what you do and no matter how you treat her, she always ends up leaving you. If you try to be too close, she leaves. If you try to ghost her, she leaves. If you have another friend, she leaves. It's so funny, dude. Your choices don't really matter. It all leads to the same outcome of Emily just leaving you. I don't know, I had a couple of laughs playing this game, so that at least deserves an A, I think. Sonic Generations. This game is awesome, simple as that. Every level is fun except for Planet Wisp. They really ended the game with one of the worst levels I've ever played in a Sonic game. Almost. Every level is extremely fun for both 3D and 2D Sonic. I personally never really liked 2D Sonic, but they somehow made it work here with all the spectacle and camera work that simply cannot be achieved in 2D without a ton of work. The music is awesome, the story is there, I don't really hate it, it's just there, doesn't really affect me all that much. The game is fun, and that's all that matters to me. Hell, the game is so good that it made me a Sonic fan after I forgot that Sonic existed for like almost 9 to 10 years, I think. So yeah, this game is awesome, easily another A tier. Sonic Force is practically the exact opposite of Generations. Every level is a straight line that's extremely boring to go through. The music is mostly shit. They did try to bring back a bigger scale story with way more characters, like lots of characters that we haven't seen in a while. But they played it way too safe and they relied way too heavily on nostalgia for no reason. I think that the game is extremely boring. The only reason that I played it was a challenge. Try not to sleep or get bored while playing Forces. I think that it failed. So yeah, this game, another easy F tier. Red Dead Redemption. This game was surprisingly good. When I played it, I first expected it to be kinda like GTA, but with a cowboy theme, a Wild West theme, but no. I really liked the gameplay, I really liked the horse riding. It takes a while to get used to, but I honestly think that it was fun. I found that the story was very, very interesting, and the ending was surprising and very well done. I think that the story as a whole was well done. I think that my main problem with this game is, in the middle, it just shits itself. It becomes almost all filler. That's a big problem when I played this game. The amount of filler is insane. I didn't really stream the game, it was in the era that I recorded videos and then edited them, so not the whole playthrough is on the channel, but I did finish it. Thought that it was a great experience except for the awful amount of filler, so I'm gonna put it at low A. Sonic 06, the worst Sonic game in existence, the worst game in existence, the buggiest game in existence, the glitchiest game in existence. I kept hearing these words over and over and over again. I kept hearing these words in the early days of the internet, and even now people still repeat these, and is that actually true? Well, no. I'd say that this game is closer to Adventure than Adventure 2. In my opinion, this is Adventure 2 or Adventure 3, if you count Adventure 2 as Adventure 2. This is another adventure game, so you have different characters and open world. The story is serious, I know that it's complicated and maybe a bit weird at times, but I honestly didn't really understand all the "oh my god, Elias kissed Sonic." Okay, it was literally like 1 second in tens of hours of content in this game, dude. I think that this, in my opinion, was like the easy YouTube game back in the day, like the easy game to pick on, the easy game to make fun of, mainly because Sonic is not wholesome 1 billion like that Nintendo guy. I think his name was Mario or whatever, dude. Sonic from the start was like cool and rebellious and at least in like the marketing. So, you know, he's easy to pick on. That doesn't mean that the game is perfect, no. no, it's buggy even without the bugs. Some of the levels are straight up not fun. I think that Sega kept getting way too cocky. Even when their console failed, they were still very, very cocky to fucking say that we're gonna rush this game and people are gonna buy it. And they forever kinda doomed Sonic in the eyes of the public. So, my opinion about the game itself, the music is great. Very different from what I expect from Sonic. Usually I expect something more similar to June's style, June Snow, right? Like guitars, high energy, with some calm tracks here and there. But here they went full on cinematic, didn't say that it's bad, just unusual from what I expect from Sonic. I really like a lot of the levels, I really like a lot of the themes that they were going for here, and you can definitely feel that they were trying to make it the biggest Sonic game yet, and like something big, something that's gonna blow everybody's mind. Too bad that it didn't really take its time to be finished, but I enjoyed my time with it. It had a lot of glitches, it had a lot of bugs, it had some awful design for the levels and some of the bosses and here and there, and that's undeniable, but I still enjoyed my time with it compared to the other Sonic game that we're gonna get to later on in the tier list. So yeah, surprisingly a fun game to go through in my opinion. I'll put it in B. Sonic Adventure 2. This is gonna be one of the most controversial ones on this list. I think that if I have to summarize this game with one word, it would be disappointment. This game disappointed me in almost every aspect. The gameplay, massive downgrade in practically every aspect and in every way. First off, treasure hunting. Now you have to do them one by one. The levels are way too big. Some of these levels could have easily been cut in half and split into 2 levels. They wanted to try something different, I'll give them that, and they were ambitious, but that ambition turned out to result in awful fucking levels where you spend 20 minutes to 40 minutes running around doing nothing but waiting for the raider to just run around aimlessly. Even the hints are very, very vague unless you already know the map, which is not helpful. Max stages, massive downgrade from E102 of Adventure 1. The movement is the worst I think I've ever played in a 3D game, dude. Every time you hit left or right, you immediately reset your speed. Remember in Adventure, where if you held down W for a while, E102 would go into like this running mode, where you'd crouch down and he'd keep up the speed, unless you like hit a wall or stopped. He was much more responsive and way smoother than whatever the fuck they did in Adventure 2 with Tails and Eggman. And Sonic and Shadow. I think that this is the start of the design philosophy of every Sonic stage being an obstacle course. It feels way less natural than Adventure. A lot of the levels here are fine, but a lot of them are awful to go through. Oh my god. I don't know why, but I think that they were so proud with the gimmicks that they pulled off. Maybe they didn't have enough time to design actual levels, so they just said, we'll make an entire stage with a gimmick, make an entire stage with the gravity shifting, or make an entire stage for rail grinding. It was just awful, dude. A lot of the mechanics here were unresponsive and shit. I always think that people give 06 a hard time for the stuff that it has, and rightfully so. The glitches are inexcusable, right? But a lot of the glitches that I saw in 06, I saw almost the exact same glitch in this fucking game, dude. I don't get it. It was so glitchy and buggy. Oh my god, and even the fucking lightspeed dash. Like say what you will about 06, but when I did the lightspeed dash, I'd actually go in the line that I was supposed to go through. Here, sometimes you press the lightspeed dash, you do a somersault. I don't know why the fuck they thought that having everything except the jump on one button is a good idea, but anyways, sometimes when you press it, you press the Z button or the Z button, he'd do a somersault, and sometimes when you press it again, he'd only go like for one ring. Maybe he'd go like left and right and throw you off the ledge. Isn't that great? And the homing attack is so bad, it's unreliable. Again, kinda like 06. And yeah, a combination of all of these things make the game very fucking awful to go through. I will not lie. I just didn't enjoy my time with this game at all, dude. And another negative is the music. I think that almost every track in this game is a downgrade compared to stuff from Adventure 1. In Adventure 1, they're composed like actual music. They have a start and an end and a middle part. The way that they are composed and the way that they progress, it's like an actual song, right? Here they're designed in a very video game fashion. A looping part, then a part in the middle that's a little different, looping part. It was so fucking bad. Like, why would you do that? Well, most of the tracks anyway. Some of the stuff here was great. Of course, Crush 40 awesome as always. Some of the vocal tracks here, the remakes for the stuff that was an adventure, are awful compared to their adventure counterpart, like Unknown from ME, or It Doesn't Matter. Oh my god, what were they thinking? And the animations, oh my god, every time I remember I hate this game more. Animations are so bad, dude. Why does Sonic look like that? Why does everybody look like that? They just look like they're moving up and down so much that they will get a concussion from simply running, dude. Adventure 1 had perfect running animations, especially the top speed. Why did they do that here? Oh, like I feel like it's kinda missing a final stage for the animation or something, dude. I don't know. But to give this game some positives, first off, Shadow and Rouge, two of the most loved characters in the community, added in one game. Gotta give him props for that. The story is amazing. I think that this is the best Sonic story, at least from the Sonic games that I've played. I've not played every Sonic game out there, but from the ones that I've played, I think that this is the best. Not even a question, dude. I think that Sonic's design here is great. He looks very similar to the artwork. I just feel like Sonic should have been a bit darker and maybe a bit taller, but he looks great. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this game. It was, like I said at the beginning, just disappointment, mainly because of how everybody was praising this game before I played it. I thought that this would blow me away. I thought that this would be the best game that I've ever played. Dude, it's just that anytime you ask anybody what's your favorite Sonic game in the mid to late 2010s, and even right now, most of the answers are going to be Sonic Adventure 2. So I expected this game to be perfect, or at least to be like great, or maybe even as good as Adventure or 06 even. I played 06 and I enjoyed that, but in the end I had more fun with 06 as a package than Adventure 2. And I still don't know why the fuck it's called Adventure 2. They dropped the open world. It's very different in terms of the level design and the moves and all of that. I'm not gonna get into it, dude. Spintires, very disappointing game. The first time you open it, you're basically looking at a fucking manual from how many instructions are spit out at you. F tier. Slay the Spire, an interesting game about like playing out cards and exploring dungeons and all of that stuff. The game itself is very fun. That's a very fun game. I'll put this in B tier, mid B tier. Paladins, rest in peace Paladins. Very fun multiplayer class-based FPS, but sadly it's dead now, filled with hackers, no longer getting updates, even balance patches, nothing anymore. Paladins is dead. I kinda miss this game. Maybe I'll stream it soon. But this game gave me lots of enjoyment. I'll put it in B as well. Split Second. This game is insanely fun, dude. I'm usually the biggest hater for vehicular combat, but this game's approach to abilities and destruction and all of that is so new and so fun that I love it. And the sense of speed is great. And the visuals are great. Everything about this game is great. Surprised me by how insanely fun this game is, and you can even change the entire track with the abilities that you use. This game was insanely fun. Easy A tier. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. It's a fighting game. I'm very bad at fighting games, but I think that this game has a lot of charm to it. But sadly this game doesn't have many characters. It should have been this game's strong point, having many characters across different seasons, but lots of seasons don't even have a single character in the game to represent them. I think it's because they have to come up with movesets and all of that, balance them, and the game kinda had a limited budget, it seemed. So yeah, the game itself is great. For the budget that they had, I think that the end result was great. I enjoyed my time playing it. And their approach to special moves and special abilities is great as well. The way that it works in this game is every special ability is bound to the same key, depending on the direction you input. So it allows new players and bad fighting game players like me to enjoy the game while also allowing for lots of skill expression. I kinda wish that more games had this system. I think that I put this game in B, yeah, somewhere like here. Guts and Glory. Streamed this game a lot when I wasn't sure what exactly did I want to stream at the time. A very fun game. It's like 3D Happy Wheels. If you've ever played Happy Wheels, you'd know how fun that game is. And this one is even more fun because it has an extra dimension that you can play in. I just have a massive problem with this game, the flying. It's kinda like these simulator games where it's as incomprehensive and as annoying as possible. That really hurts the experience, especially that I'm playing through the campaign and a big part of the campaign is just flying, and that's why I think I even stopped streaming the game. Flying is so unfun. So for that alone, I think that I'll put driving in A and flying in F. So I'll go halfway here and say at the top half of B tier. Obama boss fight. I think that this game was very, very fun. It was a fun FPS game where you basically like fight one big boss and he keeps sending in his minions in rounds, fight him every round and all of that stuff. It was very, very fun. The humor was kinda awful, but the game itself was fucking awesome, dude. So I'm gonna place it at the top half of B tier. Internet Cafe Simulator. It's one of these games, like these old simulator games, where you feel like nowadays if you play it, that it's a prototype for something bigger and something that has far more content and stuff to do. But these were kinda like most of the simulation games back then. They were very, very bare bone. This is one of these games. The idea is awesome and the start was pretty cool. The game gets very repetitive very quickly. I think that in terms of simulator games, it's fine. I just wish that it had more stuff to do. I guess that's just simulator games, but anyways, Internet Cafe Simulator, I think that I'll put this in like, yeah, high C. Speed Swing, this game tries to be like FPS Spider-Man. The mechanic itself was very well done. The levels were a big problem. They were boring. You'd have like floating objects randomly in the air, and then you would move from generic toy space to generic city, and then to a generic city with floating objects, and then to snowy mountain with floating objects, and then to a forest with floating objects. You see the problem here? It's just like random environments, and then just you deal with the same things. Floating cylinders with invisible screens over them. Stuff like that. I do wish that the levels were a bit developed more. The game itself is fine. Hell, I'd say that it's fun. But the levels were kinda tedious and boring. So for that, I'd also put it in like very low C. Painkiller Black Edition. I'd say that this game is extremely fun, dude. One of the best FPS games that I've played. I know that it gets repetitive quick, but man, the way that the weapons are designed, the way that the enemies are designed, and all the cool environments. It's kinda like reverse Serious Sam, where you always in Serious Sam try to hold down S. Here you're holding down W and A and D and jumping over the enemies, and it's so much fun, dude. The movement alone is so insanely fun, jumping over enemies. But on top of that, the weapons, I think that a good portion of them are unique to this game. I don't think that I've ever seen anything like them. The story is pretty cool as well, and I honestly kinda want to play this game again soon. So I'll put this in A tier. Duck Simulator 2. I don't remember anything about this game besides two things. That I was extremely bored out of my mind by the end. That it's basically like a bunch of mini games stacked together. It had like a cool twist about the developer testing out like new mechanics and stuff on you, and you're the player. But I don't know, dude. It got very boring and tedious by the end. I'll put this in maybe like middle of the road of A. Left 4 Dead 2. This game needs no introduction. It's the co-op shooter. The amount of fan-made content, the amount of actual content in the game, how the game is designed, the whole director thing, like no two playthroughs are the same with this game. It, like I said, it needs no introduction. The balancing, the movement, the character writing, all of that stuff, the soul. I enjoyed it a lot. I played it and it was very, very fun. I played a lot of custom maps, like I think its name was Globtastic or something. Very fun community-made stuff. And yeah, Left 4 Dead, awesome game. I really enjoyed my time with it. Easy A tier. Fight Night. This game should have been like at the top of the tier list, mainly because I'm always starved for FPS games that have a huge focus on melee systems, like Shadow Warrior, the first one of the reboot. Games like these, I really enjoy FPS like melee games with very deep combat. Fight Night, it should have been like that. The problem is how the levels are designed, and the combat system didn't really feel fun. It was unique. It just wasn't fun to me. So I put this game maybe in like low C tier. Project Hospital. This is the very first game I ever streamed, I think. I think my main problem with the game, and it isn't really a problem, just indicates that the game isn't for me, is that it has more manual labor compared to something like 2 Point Hospital. In that, if I remember right, you just build the hospital and then manage the patients. Simple, right? But here, you have to keep track of the doctors, you have to keep track of the patients, you have to do the scans yourself, see what they are suffering from, what is the treatment meant that they should go through all of that stuff. It feels quite complicated and stressful, and these are two things that I don't really like in games. Again, doesn't mean that this is a bad game, just not for me. So I put this game in low C. Besiege. Quite a fun game where you have to build stuff to either break something or reach something. At first I didn't really like the game, and when I streamed it and played it just for fun, not making my only goal being making the most optimal machine and trying to find something. It's because I'm not a creative person, right? I always make the most boring stuff. I try to mess around and just have fun. This game was surprisingly fun. It allows you to make a lot of crazy machines, and it ends up with funny explosions and funny fire and lots of stuff. I love it, dude. This game is awesome. Easy A tier. Metro 2033. This game was awesome in a lot of ways, dude. This game had quite a bit of positives and quite a bit of negatives. The atmosphere, the environment, the story, the characters. I think that these are very, very well made and definitely a highlight of the game. I think that it even does a lot of stuff better when it comes to like the post-apocalypse compared to say Fallout or lots of other post-apocalyptic media that I've seen in games at least. I think that the main problem for this game is the gameplay. I was playing on medium, yet everybody felt like they were made out of metal. Some people would just take like 5 shotgun shots to the face, they'd still be standing. It was kinda insane. I think that the darkness is also a bit of a problem in this game. I think that it's supposed to add to the difficulty, but I just didn't find it fun. The end section for the game, not the ending itself, the gameplay, was kinda underwhelming with the new monsters that get introduced. They look big, they look tough, but they don't really give you any problems. The only thing that I kinda wish that this game had was a different ending. I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to give any spoilers, but the ending was kinda, I don't know, not very satisfying. Kinda went against the main character of the game, or at least his ideals. And the stealth is also quite shit. The parts that you have to do stealth, I hate stealth. Sometimes it's forced on you. The turret section that you had to like run from the turret, I think that the turret is immortal or something. It was not fun. The game kinda gets worse in gameplay the second half of the game. But overall, I think that this game has a lot of redeeming qualities to it, so I'm gonna put it in B. Automation and BeamNG.Drive. Both games were just mindless fun for me, because I was just trying to make the biggest, coolest car that I can make, and these games are just a ton of fun. I think that they also work quite well as simulations. What else can I say about these games? They're simulators, but they allow you to be as wacky as you could, so absolutely A tier. Gigapocalypse, more like Giga Disappointment. When I first played this game, I thought that I'd be playing as giant monsters and I'd be destroying stuff, and it is just that. But it turns out that it's much simpler than that. You know, some of these 2D games that are on phones or you play online or something, about a character moving from the left and you have to destroy the star that's coming up on the right by clicking it and using your abilities from time to time. It's basically just that, with a giant monster skin. The game has a nice twist where you have to like grow your monster after trying it for the first time, breaking it out of prison with it being fully grown and fully powered up. When you use the portal, you lose all your powers and your age, so you kind of have to grow it yourself. But the way that the menus are laid out, the way that everything is designed and how you level up, I feel like this was a mobile game or a mobile game that was ported over to PC, and that was very, very disappointing. I see that there is some appeal in this game, but it's simply not for me. I'm gonna put it in D. Marvel Rivals, what a fucking piece of shit ass game, dude. The matchmaking is absolutely fucking trash. Abso-fucking-lutely goddamn. And the balancing, oh my god, if this game didn't have the fucking Marvel IP and didn't have as much slutty skins for all characters like it does now, dude, it would have been dead on release. Oh my god, what the fuck are they thinking with this balancing, dude? There are way too many things for me to list out right now, and this video is already too long, but oh my god, this fucking balancing is so dumb. So yeah, this game fucking F tier, dude. Superliminal, very fun game. You take objects and then move them around, and depending on how you place them, they grow or shrink. It was surprisingly fun. and it's well made. I do wish that they kinda did more with the awesome mechanics that they had, because at times it felt like a walking sim, and at times it felt very, very boring, which shouldn't be a thing with a game where you can grow and shrink objects by just grabbing them. But no, they kinda like fucked that part up. I do wish that the mechanics were used a bit better in a more creative way, but as a whole, I think that the game has an awesome idea, just very bad execution, like tons, and I mean tons of potential. Like they don't really use this idea to its full potential, dude, which sucks. So I'm gonna put this game at the top of C. Hue. It was okay from what I remember. You basically like change colors and can go through some stuff and you can go through others. I think that the game has cool ideas from what little I played, that I think I stopped because, you know, it's a puzzle game. I'm kinda ass at puzzles. But yeah, this game is fairly well made. It's just a 2D platformer. I'm not a very huge fan of those, so I'm gonna put this game at like B. Bridge construction portal, it's like every other bridge construction game, but now you have portals to work with, which add a ton of depth to the levels in the game, and it's so fun. It's surprisingly fun. Very, very challenging, but very fun. What else can I say about it? It's a bridge construction game with portals. An awesome idea, so easy A tier. FPS Chess. I didn't really play this game because you need another player to play it. The tutorial that I played, I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking fun. I must play this, dude. Such an interesting idea, dude. Every piece of the chess has its own abilities, movement style, and combat system, and weapons. It was so fucking cool, dude. I wish that I had someone to play this with. So, yeah, awesome game. Easy A tier. Sludge Life. This game was very, very disappointing, but this game was boring as fuck, dude. It was a walking sim. For that, F tier. SuchArt, it's a fine game. It was like that passport game, I don't remember, where you're like an artist, you have to draw stuff. This is the same, but you draw in first person. You have to use your tools, you have to move the canvas up and down, you have to do all of that stuff on your own. And the story is also kind of interesting. I'd say that this game is surprisingly fun. I do wish, like I said, I do wish that I was a bit more creative so I can play it more, but yeah, from the little that I played, this game was very, very, very fun, dude. SuchArt, yeah, I'd say that this is another like A tier. The Tenants. This game was alright. It's like, again, I'm not a very creative person, but from what I remember is that you buy and rent stuff and you fix them up, you add some stuff, you get money for it. Sometimes you buy stuff, then build in the houses that you buy, and then you rent them out, and then you see what your tenants need, and you take care of them. Maybe you'll send them like a cake, maybe you'll send them a prank, I think. All of that stuff. It was a very interesting game for a very specific type of audience slash players, which wasn't me. But what was there, I can definitely see, like, it's fun. I'd say that this game is B. The Stanley Parable, a fantastic game with awesome writing all around. The endings and the narrator and the story, it's basically like the OG Stanley remade with tons more content. I know this is literally the very definition of a walking sim. Don't even have a jump button, I think. But due to the game's writing and it being funny and it being thought-invoking at times, yeah, this is easily deserving of an A tier. Easy A tier. Potion craft. This game has a nice twist on like the whole you craft stuff for people. Here you actually use your ingredients to move into the map and then collect items, unlock new items, and get what your client wants. Then you make a potion. I had my fun with this game. I might play it again. Give this game a B. The Talos Principle. It's made by the same people who made Serious Sam, Crow Team. Surprisingly fun game. I thought that it would be tedious or annoying or any of that, but no. The puzzles that are there, I felt accomplished every time I solved a puzzle. I never thought that any of the puzzles were bullshit. And the story is very, very philosophical. If you're not really into that kind of stuff, you can just ignore it. It doesn't really affect the gameplay, but the game is great. I'd say that if you love first-person puzzle games, I'd say give this a try. So, another easy A tier. Lost Winds. I couldn't play it. Once you get an actual ability and you start to use it, the game crashes every 4 seconds. Very disappointing. So, the game is not functional. F tier. And finally, Batman, the Telltale game. This is my first game of the style, my first Telltale game, my first interactive visual novel game. I never really expected that I'd like it as much as I did. It's simple, really. You're Batman and You make choices and it affects practically everything around you. The only thing I didn't like was the design of some characters and art style. I think that the voice cast was great. I think that the story was going great, at least at the point that I played. And yeah, I'd put this in B because at the end of the day, it's still a visual novel, but an impressive one nonetheless. Oh yeah, I did play one last game, PowerWash Simulator. I'm gonna place it at D. It's a cozy game where you just walk around and start cleaning shit. I don't know if I chose a bad level, but I played the first level and then the SpongeBob level. I think that the game is a bit tedious at times. It's just a cozy game. It's not for me. If you like this kind of stuff, you like it. It's personally not for me. I'll place it at D. Just keep this in mind whenever you're looking at the footage or the stuff that I'm going to be talking about right now. Yeah, this is my final tier list after ordering them. Thank you for watching. If you've watched all of this, please like and subscribe and share. If you're interested in ever seeing me live, please do subscribe. And yeah, comment down your opinion. Most likely gonna be disagreeing about a lot of stuff here, like maybe Marvel Rivals or FNaF or Sonic or FNaF or any of these games, basically, or Sonic, or any of these games. Basically, write down your opinion. I'd love to hear it. If it's not just gonna be aggressive and disrespectful, if it's either of the two, don't bother writing it. Probably gonna get banned of the channel. Just be respectful. You can disagree as much as you want. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I think I had enough.